I'd like to call the Tuesday, August 7, 2018 Papillion City Council meeting to order. Mrs. Brown, would you please take the roll?
Florence, Mumgard, Gaines, Glover, Jaworski, Klug, Stube, Ingberg.
Would you please join me in the Pledge of Allegiance? Pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Thank you. And do we have an affidavit of publication on file?
We do.
And a current copy of the Open Meetings Act is posted in the back of the council chambers. I've got a special presentation tonight. I'll ask Chief Lyons to join me. We have the swearing in of a new police officer. And before we do the swearing in, I'd like to have Chief share a few things about Officer Smith. Chief?
Officer Smith. Would you introduce your family and friends that are here tonight?
This is my boyfriend, Charles. This is my brother, Daniel, my mom, Beth, and my dad, Don.
Cool. And who's going to pin tonight?
Chuck.
Okay. All right. Tonight, Mayor Black's going to swear in Officer Sarah Smith. She was born in Omaha, Nebraska. She graduated high school in Fort Calhoun. She graduated with a bachelor's degree in criminal justice from the University of Nebraska, Omaha. She studied Korean martial arts for about 13 years. She became a police officer in 2014 when she was hired by the Blair Police Department. She has numerous people that talk very highly of her. In fact, numerous law enforcement peers described her as hardworking, intelligent, dedicated, and organized. And it just wasn't her that we talked to. As a lateral police officer, she attended the Nebraska Law Enforcement Training Center in Grand Island in 2014. And she's trained in crisis intervention team, field training officer, and holds many other certificates. She's a great addition to our police department, and we're very fortunate to have her as a part of our family.
Raise your right hand. I state your name.
I, Sarah Smith,
Do solemnly swear
do solemnly swear
that I will support the Constitution of the United States
that I will support the Constitution of the United States
and the Constitution of the State of Nebraska
and the Constitution of the State of Nebraska
against all enemies,
against all enemies,
foreign and domestic,
foreign and domestic,
that I will bear true faith
that I will bear true faith
and allegiance to the same,
and allegiance to the same,
that I take this obligation freely
that I take this obligation freely
and without mental reservation
and without mental reservation
or for purpose of evasion,
or for purpose of evasion,
and that I will faithfully and impartially
and that I will faithfully and impartially
perform the duties of police officer
perform the duties as a police officer
according to law and to the best of my ability.
according to law and the best of my ability.
And I do further swear
And I do further swear
that I do not advocate
that I do not advocate
or am a member of
or am a member of
any political party or organization
any political party or organization
that advocates the overthrow of the government
that advocates the overthrow of the government
of the United States
of the United States
or of this state
or of this state
by force or violence,
by force or violence,
and that during such time
and that during such time
as I am in this position,
as I am in this position,
I will not advocate
I will not advocate
nor become a member of
nor become a member of
any political party or organization
any political party or organization
that advocates the overthrow
that advocates the overthrow
of the government of the United States
of the government of the United
or
States
of this state
or of this state
by force or violence.
by force or
So help
violence.
me God.
So help me God.
Congratulations. Welcome aboard. Thanks. Next is Administrator's Report. Ms. Myers.
Thank you, Mayor Black. A couple things. Each of you should have the urban design tour schedule at your stations. Just a reminder, if you haven't responded and you still want to attend the urban design tour as part of the comprehensive plan update, as you know, Mark is handling that for us. Please let Ellie know that Saturday, August 11th at 7:30. Additionally, Jeff reminded me that Fall Cleanup Days is August 18th through the 21st, October 18th through the 21st. So please mark that on your calendars. That's always a popular event. Also, October 18th through the 21st. You're not ready in August? Okay. All right. Also, I'm pleased to report the Department of Health and Human Services conducted an inspection of Papillion's water system on July 25th. I'm pleased to report there were no deficiencies as a result of their visit. So great job to you, Jeff, and your water staff team. Each of you should have the budget in your hands for the 2018-19 fiscal year. Tonight, you're introducing the budget. Again, I want to thank all the department heads for their hard work on putting that together, as well as Amber. Again, please feel free to contact me with questions. Also, the first limited Community Redevelopment Authority meeting was held last week. As you know, the LCRA was established to define a redevelopment plan for the area designated in downtown. They sent the redevelopment plan to the Planning Commission, and that'll be reviewed the end of this month, and then brought back to the LCRA and then back to the City Council. So, and lastly, if you haven't received notice from the library yet, they're asking for your input for the library strategic plan update. You were asked to complete a SWOT analysis. So again, just a reminder, if you haven't received that, it should be coming. So we thank you for your participation. That's all I have.
Thank you very much. Do we have a motion to approve the consent agenda? Motion by Councilman Ingberg, second by Councilman Gaines. Do we have any proponents? Do we have any opponents? Any council discussion? Please vote.
7 yeas, 0 nays.
Motion passes. Next is item D1, Ordinance 1815, an ordinance to amend the 2017-2018 fiscal budget. Is there a council member that will introduce? Introduced by Councilman Klug. Item D2, Ordinance 1816, an ordinance to approve the 2018-2019 fiscal budget. Is there a council member that will introduce? Introduced by Councilman Ingberg. No items for second reading. Third readings, item F1, resolution R180139, a public hearing and a vote. This is a resolution to approve a Class C liquor license for DNS Events and More, LLC, doing business as the Papillion Pub, 129 North Washington Street, Papillion, Nebraska, 68046, and a manager application for Cheryl A. Wilson. This is a public hearing. I'll open the public hearing. I know the applicant is here. I don't know if you want to speak or not, but I'll call for proponents. Anybody want to speak on behalf? And if you'd state your name for the record.
I'm Cheryl Wilson, owner of Papillion Pub, myself and my husband. Hi, Nancy. We were requesting the liquor license. It's just a continuance of Dort's that's retired now. We've been open for 3 weeks. It's amazing, the community support. Totally amazing. I'm blown away by it. Tonight's actually Taco Tuesday, so we'll stay open if you want to come for tacos. But I just request that the liquor license be approved.
Thank you very much.
Thanks.
Do we have any other proponents? Do we have any opponents? I'll close the public hearing. Do we have a motion to approve resolution R180139? Motion by Councilman Glover. Second by Councilman Jaworski. Any discussion? Please vote.
7 yeas, 0 nays.
Motion passes. Thank you. Next is item F2, resolution R180144, a resolution to approve $80,000 in community betterment funds for construction of an approximate 2.4 acre dog park at the leash-free area at Walnut Creek Recreation Area. Is there a motion to approve resolution R180144? Motion by Councilman Klug, second by Councilman Glover. Are there any proponents? Are there any opponents? Any council discussion? Mr. Gaines.
I just had a quick question. I didn't know if Tony wanted to answer it or somebody else, but I've had questions on how the process went to determine what site that we used. If you could just explain that and maybe explain a little bit of the layout and the upkeep of it.
Mr. Gowan.
The process, once again, every year I get asked about 2 or 3 things about what we'd like to see in Papillion or what people are asking about, and one of them always is a dog park. So we've always had in the back of our mind an area or two that might facilitate a dog park, and others that at a point might facilitate a small dog park. Knowing that we in the large scheme plan of the new community center, there was an area set aside for a dog park over there, but we really didn't know when that would come to light. And so with the help of Amber Powers, myself, and my staff as well, providing input, we pretty much did a tour of the city is what we did, Jason, and looked at all the other parks that we have in our arsenal right now, inside the city and outside the city. And the conclusion we came to after we met with Chris was that we have an area right now at Walnut Creek that is pretty much associated as being a dog park. It was a leash-free area. It was always intended to be a leash-free area for training of hunting dogs when we took it over from the NRD. We have the perimeter in place now. We would be putting in a new fence, but the main criteria was space. We wanted to make sure we had enough room for an adequate area for not only large dogs but small breed dogs too. We wanted to make sure that we had an area that we could have parking because we know this will be a very popular place, so we have parking out there, an area where we can expand on parking. We have water out there that we can eventually get water into the park to water the dogs and their owners too. But I think the main thing is we have an area that is already associated with being a dog park. So that was the real crux of how we came to it. We have many parks. We have small parks and we have large parks, but we wanted to make sure that those criteria were met first.
Mr. Mungard.
Yeah, I just want to commend you on the layout and how it's separated into an area for small dogs, large dogs, and the water type area. As an owner of a small dog, I've always been very hesitant. The existing area, the leash free, just didn't work. When I saw that it was separated like this, I think that's a very wise way of using the land, and I encourage all the dog owners in Papillion to first off take a look at the map that's online and then go out and make use of it. I think that's a very unique and different way of putting in a dog park. Thank you.
Mr. Gaines, did you have something else?
Yeah, I just had one more quick. Can you explain the upkeep? A lot of the concerns are the grasses and things
Sure.
that aren't taken care of now.
Well, there is going to be a process of converting it from a native area to a formal dog park area. Two of the first things that will happen will be the installation of a 6-foot high fence all the way around and through the interior for the separation of the breeds. And then Mike and his crew going out and starting to mow stuff down and trimming trees up. And so there will be a process to get it to where it's a formal dog park. You just can't cut grass down right away and expect it to be perfect. It'll take some time. It'll take some overseeding. I fully intend to spray for insects the first year or two out there because when you have a native area, it's a haven for ticks, and we hear about that. But as soon as we start dedicatedly mowing that down, when I think probably once or twice a week it'll get mowed. That problem will not say there won't be ticks in nature, but that problem will go way down. Thank you. You bet.
Thank you. Any other council discussion? Please vote.
7 yeas, 0 nays.
Motion passes. Next is item F3. We got several related items. This is the first, ordinance 1812. An ordinance to approve a change of zone from AG Agricultural to LI Limited Industrial for the property legally described as attractive land containing all of Lot 2, Oxbow Way Replat 1, a platted and recorded subdivision in Sarpy County, Nebraska, and part of tax lot 2, all located in the east half of the northwest quarter of Section 2, Township 13 North, Range 11 east of the 6 p.m., Sarpy County, Nebraska, generally located southwest of intersection of South 150th Street and Schramm Road. The applicant is Opus Development LLC, Oxbow Way Phase 2. Is there a motion to approve ordinance 1812? Motion by Councilman Jaworski. Second by Councilman Stube. Any council discussion? Please vote.
7 yeas, 0 nays.
Motion passes. Related, item F4, Resolution R180147. A resolution to approve a final plat for the property legally described as a tract of land containing all of Lot 2, Oxbow Way, Replat 1, a platted and recorded subdivision in Sarpy County, Nebraska, and a part of tax lot 2, all located in the east half of the northwest quarter of Section 2, Township 13 North, Range 11 east of the 6 p.m., Sarpy County, Nebraska, generally located southwest of South 150th Street and Schramm Road. The applicant is Opus Development Company, LLC. Is there a motion to approve Resolution R180147? Motion by Councilman Gaines. Second by Councilman Jaworski. Do you have any proponents? Yeah, I will note for the record the applicant's representative is here. Do we have any opponents? Any council discussion? Please vote.
7 yeas, 0 nays.
And the last of the related items, F5, Resolution R180148, a resolution to approve the Oxbow Way Phase 2 subdivision agreement. Is there a motion to approve Resolution R180148? Motion by Councilman Glover, second by Councilman Jaworski. Do you have any proponents? Any opponents? Council discussion? Please vote.
7 yeas, 0 nays.
Motion passes. Item F6, Ordinance 1814, an ordinance to amend sections of Chapter 135 Noise Control of the Papillion Municipal Code to define the term incidental relating to sounds emanating from industrial facilities, to add a new section having to do with the waiver of the maximum permitted sound levels, DBA, for certain civic, office, commercial, and industrial use types, to add notice and process requirements having to do with designated entertainment venues, to renumber certain previously enacted sections under Chapter 135, and to provide for an effective date. The applicant is the City of Papillion. It's the Noise Ordinance Amendment. Is there a motion to approve Ordinance 1814? Motion by Councilman Gaines. Second by Councilman Ingberg. Before council discussion, Mr. Sturzma, there was a resident that asked a question at the public hearing specifically to what we were doing in relation to entertainment venues. Can you address that question?
Certainly. Thank you, Mayor. At your seats, you'll find a memo related to that question. The amendment that is being proposed for the noise ordinance essentially does four things. It defines the term incidental. We use that term in the noise ordinance, but we didn't define it very well, so that's kind of a cleanup. We're adding the waiver that we had created for entertainment venues to civic, office, commercial, and industrial uses, and we're clarifying that a mixed-use agreement also qualifies as a noise waiver. And then the fourth thing that we're doing is we're adding a due process clause, which essentially helps define how we would enforce the noise ordinance. And that's the part that affects the entertainment venue. We're not proposing to change any of the requirements or rules related to entertainment venues. But when we prepared this amendment, it made sense to add a due process clause to make it clear how we would enforce it. And so we're adding that provision also to the entertainment venue.
Thank you very much. Council discussion, Mr. Mumgard.
Yeah, on that same point, I mean, you've talked about how, if it was necessary, we would get rid of an entertainment venue, and the ordinance talks about how an entertainment venue is established. What, if any, process would there be if a citizen wanted us to start the revocation process?
Yeah, so in the original ordinance, it simply stated that the council could revoke or modify the entertainment venue waiver. But it didn't define how the council would go about doing that or justifying it. The due process clause continues to specify that the council has that ability, but it specifies that a written notice has to be provided to the applicant, that there would be a 30-day period for the applicant to resolve the violation or the concern, and then if there is not that resolution, then the city council through resolution could revoke that waiver.
Okay, but how does, if it all begins with the delivery of the notice to the entertainment venue, how does that start? Does a council member have to ask for that notice? Can a member of the public ask for that notice? Is that a vote on the council? How does that revocation process begin to start the written notice?
I may defer to the city attorney, but typically when we enforce an ordinance, we're either through city staff action or through being notified by a member of the public, we're made aware of a potential violation, and then city staff would investigate, make a determination as to whether or not there is or is not a violation. If there is a violation, then we could turn that over to most likely the city attorney's office, and proceedings would begin. There'd be a letter drafted to the applicant. There'd be an effort to bring that applicant into compliance, and if not, then we would bring it to the city council for consideration or revocation.
Okay, well, that's the process. I think it's in place for nuisances, anything else that might be bothering a neighborhood in some fashion. And I believe those are typically started by a request to the mayor's hotline or some other complaint that is filed with the building officials. Is that the way this would start?
The building department is where the code enforcement officer operates out of, and so that would make sense to me that it would fall onto the responsibility of the code enforcement. So, I mean,
this enforcement of this ordinance would start either by code enforcement officer coming across a violation themselves, or somebody pointing out a violation or asking the investigation to begin to see if there is a violation, the same as other nuisance ordinances, correct?
That's correct. And the mayor's hotline is a great tool for that, because it comes into the mayor's hotline, it gets assigned to a staff member, but that staff member can then forward it or share it with other city staff to make sure that the right people are engaged in the process.
One other point of clarification, because this is specific to entertainment venues and people may not understand what that covers. What are the entertainment venues in Papillion in general? Because it's not everything.
Well, I'm aware of the Stave, which is right across the street. Is that correct?
Not as an entertainment venue.
Okay.
I think
they would have an opportunity to qualify
maybe
for that.
Maybe I'll let Ms. Myers of the county attorney, because I believe entertainment venue is very specific. Sumter Amphitheater, Warner Park, some of those things. So I just want to make sure we're clear as people are listening.
Okay.
At the at the present time, the only designated entertainment venue is the Sumter Amphitheater. The city has not received applications for any other entertainment venues to date.
Well, specifically, would this ordinance cover the ballpark, which is not inside the city?
At the present time, the noise control ordinance is only enforced within the city limits.
Okay.
Upon annexation, I would anticipate Warner would want to be an entertainment venue.
Yeah, I know we have fielded complaints or questions about from residents about both Sumter and the ballpark.
Correct.
But at the moment, this process that we're talking about would only be for those people who have issues with Sumter. Okay.
Or any future entertainment venue. Correct.
And any future entertainment venue would have to go through a resolution, which, of course, has public notice, etc.
Correct.
There is no current provision, is there, for a specific direct notification of people living around a proposed entertainment venue, is there? And
I don't-
not that
I
I'm
don't
saying
believe
that it's
so.
necessary, I mean, we've had experiences. We've had experiences where something shows
Now,
up on a resolution and nobody knows about it.
Now,
So I just
specific to, take your question two ways, notice to people around entertainment venues, when new subdivisions have come up near Sumter Amphitheater, like directly across the street, through the planning process, we proactively did notify and we asked that notice be filed with the plat, and I think it's actually on the deed, so it's almost like an easement from a noise perspective. So as people are buying their properties, they fully understand they're moving into next to one of these facilities. So we've done notice that way. But as far as like if we do an annexation, Warner's now in city limits, they apply to be a venue. I'm assuming there's a notification process because it's going to be a public hearing.
Okay.
I don't know if that's called for an ordinance, but it would be a public hearing.
Given our history, with complaints about the ballpark, not that I'm saying they're legitimate, but nonetheless, there are people who want to talk about it. That's something we might want to consider in the future. And for anybody else that's coming up as requesting an entertainment venue, that it might be best if we have something similar to the liquor license process, where 300 feet people get specific personal notice. That doesn't need to be done now, but I just raised the question.
Got that noted, though.
Okay, thank you.
Thank you. Any other council discussion? If not, please vote.
7 yeas, 0 nays.
Motion passes. No other regular agenda items, and I don't believe any committees have met. Do we have any comments from the floor? Any council comments? Mr. Mumgard.
Take a couple minutes of your time to brag about the residents of the Terra Hills neighborhood. This past weekend, a good number of them came out on a Saturday morning and worked very hard to spread mulch along the median in Shillelagh Boulevard, there in front of the Sumter Theater, in front of the Senior Center, about a 2-block stretch. And I just want them to be praised for that, because I think that was quite a thing for them to do. Here's a picture of a good number of them. A little bit closer. Let me get in here. It was a nice, cool morning. We got lucky. They were gonna do this in the spring, and it turned 90 degrees. And the decision was made, let's wait till it cools off a little bit. We had people of all ages, as you can see. This little one there working very hard to spread the mulch, to keep the weeds down. We were fortunate in that they also had some volunteers from the wrestling team at the high school who came out. You see that trailer there, Tony and his crew delivered not only piles of mulch, but the whole trailer. And so we had, luckily we had some husky teenagers that were hauling the mulch back and forth. And here they are, all 9 of them. Don't they look tired? Yes, they do. We thank them very much. That was let me tell you, for some of the older residents of the neighborhood, such as that was very nice to have those teenagers there. We also had a chance to spread mulch on the Senior Center sign, beautified it a little bit. And I'll just take this moment to encourage other neighborhoods, any council members who might know about neighborhood activity that they come forward with. Because, I look at this, look at those people out there. I look at this as that is small town feeling. That's people who care about their town, care about their neighborhood, and gave up their time to contribute to the city. And I would encourage, and I know that they're not alone. There's other people in the city who feel the same way. And I would take this opportunity to encourage council members or any citizens who are doing things like that to come in here and tell us about it. thank you for your time. And again, I'm just here to brag about the residents of Terra Hills neighborhood.
Mr. Mumgard, thanks for raising the awareness, though, because they've been doing that for a number of years, and I think it is a great example. Some folks will look to the city to solve all the problems, and most of the problems in the town actually are handled by not-for-profit groups, civic groups, neighborhood groups, so it is good to raise awareness, so thank you for that. Mr. Glover.
Yes, Mayor, I had an opportunity to attend the function at Senat's where they play volleyball. It was called the mud track or something like that, where they had mud volleyball. It was an unbelievable morning when I go down there and see what's going on. There's over 600 people there, and they're doing a fundraiser for cerebral palsy, which over the last 6 years they've raised about $50,000. But what was really neat about the whole morning was that I go down there, there's people there. I don't know what time they got there. I got there at 10 to 7, and there are people everywhere. But then I see the streets marked off, and I see somewhere around 100 kids participating in the triathlon, was it? And you know, you look on a Saturday morning in Papillion, and all the activity that's going on, it was just unbelievable. And there were a lot of people in the park, but it was a great fundraiser, and I wanted to make sure that everybody knew that it is something that they do once a year. 600 people come to our community, and most of the people aren't from Papillion. They play the Sandlot volleyball throughout the year and hear about this function, and then they bring a team in for the mud volleyball. So great activity. Great to see them in Papillion. Great to see the young kids participating, and what a great morning.
Thanks for representing us there. Any other council comments? Just a couple of things from the last couple of weeks. The schools getting ready to go back into session. School district has the program Cooperation Best. It's their partnership with the business and the community. They had their kickoff breakfast, and so we went to represent the city. A number of city departments participate in that. So the police department, the fire department, public works get into the schools and help educate about their career fields and give kids experiences with the trucks and those types of things. So it's a great program. So thank you guys for what you do there. Ms. Powers and myself attended the monthly wastewater agency board meeting. Main thing that's going on there is the prioritization of where the initial implementation is. HDR is working on understanding where that initial implementation was. One of the things that Papillion specifically will be making sure that the wastewater agency is aware of is that they know that our water treatment plant is down there, and that's our water source. And so being very conscious about discharge, quality of discharge, and that type of thing. So there's no impact on our wastewater system. So we'll be doing a formal notification of that, so that can be taken into account. Ms. Powers, Ms. Myers, and myself also attended the first LCR meeting. I want to thank Ms. Powers for leading that effort. As people know, it's the first time Papillions use the CRA process and potentially enable TIF, and she's doing a really good job with that. The redevelopment plan that'll be coming before you, she developed, and most cities probably would have gone to an outside consultant, an outside agency to develop that. So we were able to do that in-house, and she saved us tens of thousands of dollars. So thank you very much for all of your effort there. We also had the employee appreciation picnic. Mr. Mumgard, thanks for coming out for that and speaking to the group. Very important. And the reminder, the tour is Saturday, so if you want to go on that, be sure to let Mr. Sturzman know. We've got a bus for that tour and encourage you to attend that. And then I think at your tables, was the article about York placed at the tables? If not, you might have gotten an email. And again, since there was that's been very public in the newspaper, I just want to take a real quick opportunity, since we did the budget tonight, just to give a public thanks to administration and finance and to you as council members. If you read the article about York, Nebraska, they've been getting good, clean audits. Things looked good financially, and just in the last week, there were 2 articles in the paper about how their cash reserves are depleted. They might have to double their levy, go to the the maximum levy, hold pay raises, stop step increases, potentially lay off people. So they went 1 year from being in good financial condition to the next year dire straits. Probably a lot of questions of how that occurred, and that's what one of the newspaper articles in the Grand Island paper was about. But I know we talk a lot about cash reserve policies, fiscal policies. We talk about policy a lot, and it's all to protect the integrity of our financials. So the Moody's bond rating, our external audits, the formal policies we adopt that we don't have to is all in that vein. So just a very public thank you to all of you for what you do in that process. Feel very good about where Papillion is at. Any other council comments? Do we have motion to adjourn? Motion by Councilman Glover, second by Councilman Gaines. Please vote.
7 yeas, 0 nays.
We are adjourned.